Satan-Lucifer, the Lord of the Worlds. This is from a post by High Priest Magician 666, dated Monday, June 5th, 2017. The original religion of Earth is called the Sanat-Ana Dharma. Kumara means Lord. Sanat means eternal. Sanat Kumara means eternal Lord, the eternal God. Sanat is also spelled as Satan by his ancient followers as well. Satan Kumara, the eternal God. The eternal highest God is also called Sata, Satam, Satan in Hinduism, and his mantra is Satanama, the highest mantra of serpent power yoga. Satan or Sanat is the same title and meaning. In the most ancient texts of Hinduism in Tamil Nadu, they state the primordial age, or golden age, the Satyuga, civilization was called Kumara Kandam and was ruled by Sanat Kumara, who came to this world with the other gods from another star system. This civilization extended to a land mass now underwater, with some of it remaining above water, such as Tamil Nadu. The peoples of the Far East from Thailand to the ancient Americas all have the same record of a golden age civilization that once extended across a large continent, now much of it under the Indian and Pacific Ocean. The Greeks, Druids, Egyptians, and Romans stated in their ancient records they came from the east, from the same area. The Romans had a ritual of mourning called Lemuria, where they threw effigies of their ancestors into the Tiber River to remember when this land was lost. The name of this land was also called Mu, spelled M-U. The ancient Mayans had the record of coming from this early region as well. And the peoples of the Americas record these white gods, teaching them spiritual knowledge and cultural knowledge, from how to grow food to build homes and medicines, astrology, and other knowledge. There are African tribes they state they received the same from the same beings such as the Dogon. This explains the megalithic ruins found across the east from off the coast of India all the way to Nan Madol, to the ruins off the Japanese coast, to the Andes in the Americas. All are shown to come from the same core civilization, described by the natives as having been built by a tall white race with light hair and European features who were ascended. The ancient Tibetan and Far Eastern texts state the hub of this ancient civilization was in the region of the current Gobi Desert, in which there have been numerous findings, from the white mummies to what Professor Koslov, a Russian archaeologist, found a tomb in the Gobi after digging down 50 feet. There are artifacts in there dated to 18,000 years old. The records claim and the migration shows the Aryan race pushed westwards from the regions of the Gobi, Pamir, northern India, and Central Asia in general. The world's largest pyramids are in northwestern China, and there are over 100 of them. The largest ancient cities on earth have been found around the ancient Silk Road, and their inhabitants were Aryan peoples. The Chinese mentioned they received their culture from tall Aryan peoples, and their ancient records talk of green and blue-eyed emperors. The Aboriginal Japanese are known to have been a white race. Many people in China, Korea, and Japan are what today would be called Euro-Asian. They still have the divine culture of the gods as well. The Japanese call Sanat Sonten, and state his eternal spirit resides in the sacred Mount Karama in Japan. This Gobi region was stated in the records in the Golden Age to have been the capital in which Sanat Kumara ruled from, directly, while on earth, along with the other gods. This is called Shambhala in the Far East, and might be the source of Valhalla, the city in which Odin rules from. Some of the writings on the ancient Norse mentioned they migrated from the east. People of modern Hungary and Romania did as well. The ancient Aryan Hun Empire went all the way to the far east, to the Uyghur regions of the current Gobi. Hungary is from Hunland. It was officially granted to the Huns, forebears of Attila. They were not racial Asians, but Aryans from further east. The Scythians came out of the Central Asian regions into Europe and became the Slavs, to the Saxons, to the Celts. The Yazidi, who are called the Blonde bloodline, their calendar is 7,000 years old, and the Yazidi state they migrated out of the east from northern India and were part of the Sumerian civilization. The Chaldeans came out of the Hindu Kush along with the ancient Phoenicians who called themselves the Yakuts, a title still used in Kashmir. The Phoenician gods were red-haired and blue-eyed as their ancient images show them as Aryan people like the Sumerians. Tests on their remains show them as European. The Yazidis show Sanat, who they call Satan, as the eternal youth, surrounded with peacock feathers in their writings, the same way Sanat is shown in India and Tibet. The Yazidi text, the Al-Jawwa, mentions the realm of Shambhala within it. If one goes to India, you will find the Yazidi religion, as the Yazidis themselves state. In the worship of Sanat Kumara, also called Skanda, who is colored red many times, and also riding the peacock and with the serpent. This is how the Tibetans show Amitabha Buddha, colored red and riding the peacock. Amitabha Buddha worship is 20,000 years old in the Far East. He is the head god. The Tibetans' original religion is called Bon. Further east to China, it's called Mon. The worship of Mon is not the everlasting blue sky. It's actually a blue-colored god. The Mongols relate their origin from a race of blue-eyed whites of divine descent. The Tibetans stated they got Bon from a race of Aryans. Of the current Asian groups in the Far East, many, one way or another, mention a previous race of Aryans whose home civilization was Shambhala. The Yazidis state the Aryan race came directly from Satan, Sanat, Kumara, and are the original people of this world. However, the other races are under the protection of the gods, and some do descend from them as well. In primordial Greece, before the fall of the Minoan civilization, the head god Zeus was shown as the eternally young god called Koryos. He was blue-colored and had a white bull, 12 cowherder companions, and a consort called Rodha. He played a sacred flute as well. Koryos is from the Sanskrit Kumara. His other symbols are the peacock and the serpent, and he carries a staff, thyrsus, or spear as Dionysus. The peacock is only native to the Far East, where the Greeks state they came from a place called Pan-Achaia. Sorry, I hope I pronounced that okay. Their oldest god still carries the same appearance, banners, totems, and myths as Skanda in India, of whom the Greeks state Dionysus was. Of their maps they called Sri Lanka the place of Dionysus. The mythos of Dionysus is the exact same as Skanda. Koryos is the primordial god from which the other images of the head gods in Greece came from. Dionysus is the Koryos. His worship was so ancient, the later Greeks thought his religion was foreign. From Egypt, as the Greeks lost much of their culture after the devastation that caused the end of the Minoan civilization, the whole island blew up and destroyed most of the region in the fallout. The Egyptians recorded this and that they kept the records the Greeks had largely lost when they were nearly wiped out. The Greeks and Egyptians both stated Osiris and Dionysus are the same god, and Ptah is another name of Osiris in Memphis. One will note the ancient figure of Koryos is also the famous incarnation of Vishnu in India, Krishna. The Hindu Puranas state all the famous head gods of Hinduism, including Vishnu, go back to one pre-ancient god, Sanat Kumara. They are images of the same primeval god, Sanat Kumara. The Chandogya Upanishads also state that it was Sanat Kumara who handed down the Siddha Marga, the path of perfection to mankind, the teachings of ascension. The Yazidis who worship the same god Sanat as Satan also state the same. Venus in Sanatana Dharma is the highest cosmic principle. It rules sound and white light and the spectrum of light. As it descends, creating all existence, which is condensed sound and light. However, what we perceive as white light is stated in the Vedic text to be blue light. This is why the ancient image of the god Sanat Kumara is always shown in blue, the purified soul and the concept of Venus. This is the reason for Lucifer. It's a name of Venus. Sanat Kumara is called Shurka, Venus in the original language of Sanskrit. Sanat esoterically represents Venus. This is the same god as Dionysus and Osiris are also called Venus in their ancient cultures. The reason for the left-hand path, which is from Sanatana Dharma, it's the name of Kundalini Yoga, the left of Shakt, the serpent energy, is because the planet Venus is the only planet that rotates anti-clockwise to the left. The left-hand path is the path of Venus, Sanat Kumara. The pentagram is also the symbol of Venus, the shape of the orbit of Venus, and the 5 is a Venus number. The symbol of Venus would have 666 placed with it to show spiritual rebirth. Venus's number also connects to the sun. The Ankh, the symbol of spiritual rebirth, is the symbol of Venus. Venus rules the mystical transformation of the soul as the morning and evening star. Venus's 8-year cycle is a spiritual number of enlightenment and immortality. Its position on the horizon is the evening star just before it disappears into the night of the underworld, to its triumphant reappearance in the dawn, heralding the reborn soul, spiritual victory. Venus is also ruler of the serpents. Venus rules wisdom. This is connected to the throat chakra, which Venus rules, which is why Siva is called the blue-throated one. Venus rules the path of the gods, the Sushumna. Vasu is the name of Vishu, relating to Venus as well. Vasuvas is the symbol of divine kingship in Egypt. Venus is about spiritual material perfection. Venus in Sanatana Dharma rules the serpent energy and the raising of this energy. Venus rules the Mula chakra and the other chakras. Venus power is about bringing the serpent up through the chakras. Venus rules the element of air, which is the breath of life and spirit, which element is sound and the blue light of creation, which is ruled by Mercury on a level, but Venus on the highest level. The perfected body is related to this element in the Far East, air. The symbol of air, Prana, is the serpent of Sanat, Kumara, Satan, spirit. Vayu also rules all the 5 elements. Venus rules the Kunda, which means water pond, but is the name of the root chakra and tailbone and serpent energy, the water of life, which is the serpent energy and flowing prana. The Sushumna is called the Kunda Kula, the Kunda path. The name Kunda Lini comes from this. This is Kundri in the Grail mythos. Shambhala is shown esoterically as the 8-petal city with Sanat Kumara sitting on the throne of the world in the center of his palace. In Sri Lanka, the entrance to the temple of Sanat Kumara as Skanada has a golden throne outside to show his kingship of the world. The Grail Castle in the Western mythos of the Templars has Sanat Kumara sitting in the center of an 8-sided Grail Castle wearing a peacock crown. Just like in Tibet, the same being is shown with a peacock crown. The Grail is openly of Venus, the Venus stone or cup in the Grail mythos. The popular shape of the Western Grail is the Mount Meru column in the east. The palace of Sanat Kumara in Shambhala is the Kala Chakra, his teachings of ascension. Show the base of the palace is the mantra of the root chakra, and upward steps is the levels of the Mount Meru column in other images. The Meru column is openly shown as the hexagram symbol, the star of Venus. In India, the yogis who worship Sanat Kumara directly, practices are based on awakening the serpent at the root and moving it up the spine. The esoteric world, Sanat Kumara, Satan, is the ruler of this physical planet. The esoteric world he is ruler of is the soul. His kingdom is the spine, which is the cosmic axis, and the serpentine life force that flows through it. His symbol of the Grail is the unified soul. It's a six-pointed star symbol, which is the star of Venus in the east, and the symbol on his yantra in southern India. His other symbol is the peacock standing atop the Mount Meru column. This is also the flute Krishna carries, as it has the peacock on the top. The spine with the serpent energy, the prana moving through it. Krishna Vishnu, as mentioned, is the India Venus. Vishnu is pronounced Vesnu. This is arranged to Venus in the west. Venus was shown as the androgynous being many times and was the origin of the Baphomet of the Templars. The main Templar symbol is the eight-pointed star of Venus, and their practices are still found in Hindu Tantra. The waking of the serpent energy and moving it up the spine. The eight-pointed star is the entire soul, all 13 major chakras. 13 and 8 are both Venus numbers. The esoteric meaning of the world is the temple. It represents the entire soul, including the physical body, which is the animation of the soul's more dense manifestation. The teachings of Sanat are how to make the body and soul one, by purifying the earth element with serpent fire. Hence, he is the god of fire as well. As Skanda, he descends to earth and makes war on and exterminates the asuras from the earth, who represent the dross to be burned out. The process of yoga is purifying all the elements back to their core essence of spirit, which is ruled by Venus, by the practices of Siddha Marga, Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini is the symbol of Venus, Sanat Kumara, Satan. This is why the enemy extraterrestrials, the reptilians who attacked this planet in a cosmic war across the solar system around 10,000 years ago, which caused the devastation of this planet and the end of the Golden Age, and their reptilian hybrid race, the Jews. The alien Jews themselves are the only race on Earth that has an actual reptilian gene, the Cohen gene, and a reptilian appearance and behavior. They've been working to remove this knowledge from humanity and rewrite history in a false narrative to turn this planet into a plantation state where humanity is reduced to microchip cattle. The Eastern texts make constant mention that Sanat Kumara appears to and works with different yogis directly in his etheric form and gives them instructions. As Satan, Sanat states he does in the Al-Jalwa. The famous yogi Bhogarnath stated he received direct instructions from Sanat in this etheric form and finished the magnum opus and ascended with Sanat's instruction. From here he established a school of yoga to teach others. What is left of the known teachings of this yoga is Kundalini Yoga. There are many records of yogis doing such with direct help from Sanat. These are people who have spiritual practices which allow them to be on the spiritual level where they can communicate with the etheric form of Sanat Kumara. The gods have the ability to astrally project and communicate directly face-to-face with humans who have the spiritual psychic centers open enough for this, which is how the joy of Satan has been established and directed in our time. The enemy needs to remove this knowledge to close humanity off from Satan and the gods so we can no longer communicate with them, because this would be the end of the enemy's program. So they remove this knowledge and then scare everyone with lies about Satan, Sanat, and about the occult to keep people powerless and deceived. And when the lack of spiritual knowledge has taken its toll, they then push Marxist materialism. which allows the enemy to push their own agenda to exterminate and enslave humanity into a global factory farm run by Jews, who use occult power in their Kabbalah at the top, and communicate with their reptilian masters. This is why the enemy thought form of Jehovah has numerous curses to bind humanity on the soul and keep them from ascending on any level. Bind them and then damn them. The Jews' game. In Germany, there was a young patriot who was practicing the spiritual knowledge he was able to find in spiritual publications and books from the Hindu East, and opened up his spiritual abilities to where he could communicate with Sanat, Satan, directly, as the spiritual society he was a member in showed him how, as they were in contact through their spiritually opened people. That group created the National Socialist Party, and that man became the German leader of a new society that's purpose was the divine mission of reestablishing the Sanat Ana Dharma to the world and defeating the power of the enemy trying to enslave humanity under Marxism. Today that man is lied about as much as Sanat, Satan, by the same enemy and for the same reason. That is just what happened the last time with a handful of people. What does the future hold? Our planet will be ruled again in a new golden age from the peacock throne of Satan Kumara, Lord of the world. Sources: The Lost Civilization of Lemuria, Joseph. Guardians of the Holy Grail, Pinkham. The Serpent, Eagle, Lion and Disc, Parker. Shiva and Dionysus, Gods of Love and Ecstasy, Daniel Wu. I can't pronounce that. The Return of the Serpents of Wisdom, Pinkham. Hail, Father Satan forever.